Hello, and welcome to the Perfect Franchise Podcast.
I'm Kris, and joining me is my wonderful co-host, Andrea.
In this podcast, we're on a mission to help you discover all that franchising has to offer.
We'll explore expert strategies, interview successful franchise owners, and give you the tools to make informed decisions.
So whether you're considering your options or you're ready to take that plunge, we're here to support you every step of the way.
So let's jump into today's episode. Hi, welcome to another episode of the TPF Podcast. Today, Andrea and I are super excited to have Matt Rearden with us. Matt is the franchisee for Mosquito Hunters / Pest Hunters / Humbug Holiday Lighting. That's a mouthful. In Orlando, Florida. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, great to be here. Good to see everybody, and certainly glad to talk about franchising and what we've been able to do here in Central Florida.
Yeah, that's great. So, Matt, thanks for coming on. I think start us out. We gave the punchline already. You bought a franchise. Okay, great. But why did you leave corporate? Start there.
Took the plunge, right? I'm a lawyer by training, right? So I was in corporate America for the better part of 20 years, brands that you'd probably recognize. Started out my career in-house with NASCAR, and then I was with SeaWorld and Busch Gardens in the corporate space. Ended up doing development. And toward the end of my time with SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, my children were of an age where I was doing a lot of travel. I did a lot of international business development. I had a really cool job, really neat things I was seeing in the world. But for me, it was a little bit of a lifestyle change where I just said, man, I'm going to miss a window of opportunity with my kids at home. And then just some priorities shifted for me. And so I stepped off the corporate hamster wheel, so to speak, and actually walked into helping my mom run a family business that we had for about 35, 40 years. So I kind of went from big business to semi-small business. We had it was a decent size family business here in Central Florida. And we ran that for a number of years together. And I really enjoyed working with my mom. It was in the sales industry. We had a really great company. She had built it. So we had systems and processes and things like that in place that you get with a franchise. But I had an opportunity to leave there, which was never the plan, and go into some leadership development and do some things that were really meaningful and valuable to me. Did that. And when I took that jump, we actually got that proverbial offer you can't refuse, and we sold the family business. And so I was kind of back in corporate America, but I was doing some things that were very missionally driven, that were very purposeful to me. And I was brought over to do some very specific things and thought it may be a longer term deal. It ended up not being that. I finished the assignment that I was asked to do. And then I just said, man, I'm back on the wheel again. I'm traveling too much. I'm missing some things out. I kind of had my own schedule there, but at the end of the day, departed on very good terms with a great organization that I continue to help and work with. I just don't work for them anymore. And so as I was stepping off of that, I thought, I'm too young to retire. I really enjoyed the time of running our business, our family business together. Hands on the steering wheel, speedboat versus a battleship, right? You can quickly turn a small business in a lot of different directions. And then just started kicking the tires on what does my next chapter look like? And small business ownership, getting back into that was important. For me at the stage of life that I knew what it took to build a business from the ground up. I watched my mom do it. I helped her do it in our business. And so for me, franchising and buying franchises was a cheat code, I call it. It just kind of gave me a leg up, systems that were in place, people that were there that, care about the business. And you kind of have that support staff in the franchise that can help you kind of get up and running a little quicker than if you just did something ground up. So that's kind of what got me to where I am today with buying the franchises. The other thing is I'm very involved in a couple other things outside of my businesses. I do some charitable work and some other things. Owning my own franchise and not having to start something from really nothing, right, gave me the opportunity to continue to do some of that board work. I did some work with the university for a while. And so it gave me the freedom to be able to be involved, engaged, build something, legacy wealth for the family, all those kind of things, but also the freedom in the lifestyle that I wanted to have with everything we got going on. So
Yeah. So, Matt, it's one thing to decide, hey, I'm going to look at small businesses, and maybe franchising is a path to that. It's another thing to step into the perfect franchise process like you did. You worked with Mark Schnurman, founder here at the Perfect Franchise, and he took you through our process. Can you describe that experience for us?
yeah, I was just showing you guys before we started the podcast. I got Mark's book, The Perfect Franchise, here on my desk, and went through that. When I started talking to the Perfect Franchise and to Mark specifically, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I'm trying to remember. It's been a little while now because I've been running a business for a year. But we did some personality things. We did some questions. What do you like? What do you not like? How much time do you want to spend in the business? Do you want to be a hands-on owner? Do you just want to be, an owner that's doing, kind of funding it, but somebody else runs it for you? Do you like food service? Do you like home service? Do you like, helping people? All those questions that you think you ask yourself, but you really don't until somebody else asks you. And so for me, having Mark, having the Perfect Franchise and a guide to walk me through the process, and then it wasn't, hey, I think this is where you should go. What I appreciated about the process that we went through, and I'm trying to remember now, I think Mark brought me 8 or 10 ideas of franchises that were solid. Hey, this seems like it would be a good fit for you. What do you think? Here's what they're in. And immediately, I won't tell you which one it was, but I went home and I showed the list to my wife. We talked about it a little bit, and she's like, "We are not doing that." And I'm like, "Cool, knock that one off the list, right?" Like she was just not interested in it. And so then boiled it down to, I think, 3 or 4 for me, and did a little bit more of a deep dive into those franchises until we finally landed on one that felt like it was right, and then took the plunge with the Hunters Humbug franchise group.
One of the things that Andrea and I preach a lot is that you got to trust the process, right? Most people that go through the process end up falling in love with a franchise, buying a franchise like you did. Uh, they end up with a franchise that's completely and utterly different than
Yeah.
anything they expected when they started the process. I'm going to guess you didn't go in saying, maybe mosquito control is, the next big chapter in my life. So talk to us about that, winnowing it down. How did you, first start to zero in on home services, I'm guessing, and then eventually mosquito control?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't really want to have a retail operation. You open the doors at 8 o'clock, you close them at 5. If somebody doesn't show up, you got to go in there and make sure that the doors are open, the storefront are open. So that was a little bit for me. Our family business, we had several hundred independent contractors and employees that work for us. So when I started looking at a franchise, I thought, I don't want heavy labor, if you will. I don't want a ton of people. I love people. I love to invest in my team. I just didn't want a business that required massive amounts of people, shift work, and all the stuff that you kind of get into. So that was a little bit for me. Obviously, look at do I think this business can work in the market where I'm at? I'm in Orlando, so mosquito, pest, and then lighting seem to work really well. But Mark and the Perfect Franchise helped me to kind of figure out some criteria that made sense for me. I also looked at things like, what's the licensing look like? What's the retail space look like? I mean, there's like little things that you don't think about unless someone, again, is asking you those questions and sort of challenging you in a very good way, in a very healthy way, to find what is going to work best for your lifestyle. For me, I also felt like when I looked at this franchise, when I got in this franchise, I didn't know. For example, everybody goes, "Oh, mosquito control." I think the folks at Happy Nest always like to say, like, "We're not trying to get Chuck in a truck," right? I love the phrase. Like, that is not me, right? I'm an empire builder. That's what they call me. I've never put on a backpack sprayer. I can, but I've not put on a backpack sprayer. I don't go out and do our service calls. I do like to hang Christmas lights. We can talk about that in a little bit because it's fun and I enjoy it. But I wanted a business that I could work on, but not necessarily in, without a ton of people. So that's sort of where I landed on that. But those were other concerns, questions that I sort of worked through as we figured out the process.
That's great, Matt. So Matt kind of said to us jokingly before we started the recording, like, there's no perfect franchise. And I think that that's 100% true, right? There's challenges in every business. There's not a perfect franchise. It's the process that you just talked about, Matt, going through is figuring out what's perfect for you based on lifestyle, flexibility, what you're looking for. That's really, I think, great. And I love the way you kind of went through that process. So then you kind of, you find that fit, whatever the perfect fit for you is. And then tell us a little bit about those first few months. We know that's challenging as a new franchisee. So how did you spend most of your time? What have you been doing? You've been in business a little over a year now. So fill us in on what that's looked like.
Yeah, so for us, it was kind of the tale of two seasons, right? I think I told you earlier, but for me, the Hunters model is a subscription-based model. I'll call it. It's a home service model, a little bit of a slower build, right? Because we treat mosquitoes about every 3 weeks, pests is about every quarter, and you get customers that come on a regular basis. Your numbers at the beginning are a little smaller because it's a service-based business. It's not that big hit, right? We just don't have one thing that happens. And then with Humbug, it actually is a 45 to 60 day dead sprint. And it's bigger ticket items, it's bigger revenue right out of the gate. But then that faucet turns off around December the 1st, second, third. When people are done putting Christmas lights up, they're done putting Christmas lights up, and you had to have made your money in that business, during that time. So as I started out, I did what they call a mid-season rollout with Mosquito Hunters, meaning I started after the mosquito season was kind of all in full swing. We thought that would work really well here in Florida. It worked okay, and there's some trial and error that you work with the franchise, where sometimes you hit it out of the park and sometimes you just hit a really good single, right? And so for us, we worked kind of May, I'm trying to remember now, April, May, June to get everything up and running. In pest control, you have to have a state license. You got to get all your insurance. We got to get our truck here. I got to get my gang trained. We start the marketing process. We figure out what happens when a customer calls the first time, and we got a live one. What do we do? All those kind of things. And so we really did that pretty earnestly. June, July, August, and then into September a little bit on the hunter side. And then at the same time, we were standing up our second part of the franchise, which is Humbug Holiday Lighting. And Christmas lights is a season, right? It is as I talked about, it's a 45 to 60 day, dead sprint. But starting around August, we were putting our plan together for our holiday lighting. It's a newer franchise for Happy Nest. So one thing that I liked, and it's something, I know it's not the question you asked, Andrea, but I'll point it out to some people thinking about franchises. I'm a pretty creative person. I'm a lawyer, so I also have an opinion a lot. I used to have a T-shirt that says I'm not opinionated, I'm just always right. I try not to live by that as I grow a little bit older, but I like to get involved in the weeds of stuff. I like to understand why we're doing things. I picked the Hunters Humbug brand under the Happy Nest umbrella because, to me, these were emerging brands, right? I think there's less than 150 franchises that are out there. And what I appreciated about it is I'm in regular contact with the CEO. He doesn't have any problem, I don't think, at least he doesn't tell me he does, if I call him and I go, that's a dumb idea, or the marketing is not working, or this is a great idea. Let's tweak it a little bit. The reason that I went with a franchise like this as opposed to a very established franchise is because I wanted to be involved in helping the brand grow. And so that was like another, hey, check mark, instead of going to, I'll use franchise everybody knows about, right? Instead of McDonald's, which is, this is the way we do it. Everybody does it this way. Don't ask questions. This is how much you put on a burger. This is boom, boom, boom. The systems are so ingrained. Some people want and need that. That was not a check mark for me. I wanted a franchise that I could grow with and, frankly, help grow. So that's just another consideration that I think people looking at franchises should think about is how established of a brand do they have? Is it emerging? Has it been around for a really long time? And are they creative, or do they just want someone to tell them exactly what to do? You follow the playbook, and you should be successful in the franchise side. So that's a little bit of a tangent, Andrea. Sorry on your question.
That's okay.
Gives you a good idea of the decision
Yeah,
making
no, it's
process
great.
that we talked about earlier.
That's really insightful. And speaking of insightful, before the podcast, we were talking about kind of the pros and cons, what people need to be aware of when it comes to business models, franchise models that have recurring revenue, because everybody wants recurring revenue, right? Boy, I can land a client once and just get paid over and over and over for a very long time. Who doesn't want that?
Right.
But there's some, like with everything in business, like everything in life, there's pros and cons, right?
Yep.
So talk to us about that, what you've experienced with Mosquito Hunters, and then how, because of that experience, how important the Humbug Holiday Lighting has become to kind of balance things out for you.
Yeah, I mean, to build a great business and build legacy wealth and all the things that we talk about as we get into franchises, I do like the idea of a subscription. It's what attracted me to the Hunters model. But it's a slow build, and I think people have to be prepared for that. If you're going to do a subscription based service, you better make sure you've got the capital to sustain. You better make sure that you're watching your P&Ls very closely. There's some things I think you have to look at really, really, really carefully. And if you have the appetite for a 1, 2, 3 year build, a subscription model or a home-based service, recurring revenue is really great. If you don't have that patience, something like Humbug, I call them quick hitters, right? The holiday lighting, you can get in there, you can make a lot of money, but that's one sale. You got to do it again next year, or you got to find the next customer, and that's a little different. So for me, the merge of the two was what attracted me to the model. So Hunters, in all transparency, is a slow build, right? It takes a while. I was just talking to Andy Fuller, our CEO, the other day. As you think about what markets you're going to get into, what franchise you're going to get into, one thing in Florida is everybody has a pest control company. A lot of people have mosquito control, or the government does mosquito control. So a little bit of our sale is why you should pick us, why we do a better job than the person you already have, right? So it's a different type of sale than what we've found is there is a significant number of people in the market that have either never done Christmas lights, always done their own Christmas lights, but very rarely have had a company do their Christmas lights. So it's a hassle, right? Their kids want it, their wife wants it, but they do not want to get on a ladder. So that's a little bit of a different sale for us, and we do focus on that a little bit. But man, when December comes and it shuts off, and call it January, and we put all the Christmas lights away, I've thought about it. I haven't talked to anybody about Christmas lights in quite a while. It is July. We are running a Christmas in July special right now. And I have people that have lined up for Christmas lights. But I know that it's a really short shoot. And what I'm dealing with right now, back to the labor question, is how rapidly or do I expand from 1 or 2 install teams to 3 or 4 install teams, especially in a seasonal market. But we do know that there is some income out there, and who doesn't get excited about Christmas lights? So there's a lot of smiles.
Yeah.
And I will add, the sales process is a little different. People are always excited about something they're going to get, right? Christmas lights bring joy and excitement and happiness and holidays and all that kind of stuff. We start talking about Christmas lights, everybody smiles. If you start talking about roaches, nobody smiles. So the sales process is we're selling like the presence of something great, being Christmas lights, or the absence of something you don't want, mosquitoes,
Right.
bugs, all that kind of stuff. And so it's a little different process for us to work our way through. And that's sort of why I like the challenge of those brands being merged together, because we can kind of switch from one to the other, and it's all good.
That's great. So, Matt, you talked a little bit about this where you picked a brand that was a little bit more emerging, is what we would call it, where it's newer. You can have a little bit more say, dive in. You talked to Scott, the CEO, often. You've talked to Andy. Even before we got on, you talked to other franchisees. Tell people about sort of that support and the network of people that you have at your fingertips with the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the other franchises, but I'm going to
Yeah.
assume that most franchises will have, a franchise coach or a brand coordinator or somebody who tells you what color the logo needs to be or what your marketing should look like or all those kind of things. That is the franchise that you buy. That's the cheat code we look for. What has surprised me and I've enjoyed probably more than I expected is the camaraderie and the relationship among other franchisees. I was on the phone with one this morning. I told you guys that. I have a string of text messages with a bunch of others. And it's like, hey, this is working in my franchise, or this is not working in my franchise right now. What are you guys doing? I'll never forget, like, as helpful as you are, but last year we were putting up some Christmas lights. And one of our franchisees that's over in the Tampa area, a couple hours away, ran out of some product. And he's like, man, I'm dead in the water. I can't get them, for 2 more days. They're in the mail. FedEx has them. It's Christmas shipping. Do you have X? And I'm like, dude, my buddy, who I actually went through franchise training with, drove over. I got him what he needed. He drove back. He was on there and kept his business going. The camaraderie and the relationship that we have between franchisees is phenomenal, and I love that community that we have.
No, that's good. I mean, we talk about that a lot with our candidates, and we tell them, you're validating with them even before you buy the franchise. And they're like, well, why are they going to tell me the truth? They want to bring the right people in, right? It gives you sort of the better that they're doing, the better off you'll do once you get up and running as a national name, right? And so everybody seems to really be sharing. They don't care that they're withholding information. There's no benefit. They're not making any money off of you. It's if I support you, you support me. It's a family. And that's really what you're looking for. So I always tell them, listen for that when you're validating. Most of the time, you're going to get honest answers from other franchisees.
I talk to potential franchisees a lot. The happiness folks send them my way, and I'm really honest. I was very thankful for the honest conversations that I had with other owners before I bought. They're like, hey, it's back to, is it a perfect franchise or not? It's perfect for you, but there's no franchise that doesn't have issues or questions or things you got to work through. I'm very, very upfront with anybody. If they call me and they say, hey, what's going on? What's great about this franchise? I'll give you a list. Where does the franchise need to improve? I'll give you a list there too. For me, I'm grateful for the franchise relationship that I have with the franchisor because they know what that list is. I'm pretty vocal about that list of things that need to improve. And what I appreciate is the fact that when we say something, they actually listen, right? And so if I was telling another, hey, you're going to kick tires on franchises, I would ask an existing franchisee, when's the last time you made a recommendation, asked a question, pointed something out to your franchise, and they took note of it and actually did something about it? Like, again, it's back to emerging versus established. Some established franchises don't need to do that, and that's great. They've figured it out, and that's really cool. For my personality, I wanted a franchise that I could work with.
Well, Matt, I could ask you a bunch of more questions. Andrea, do you have some, or I'm going to jump to the rapid fire?
Why don't you wrap it up? Let's wrap it up. I think it's been great.
So this is the part of the podcast where we're changing directions a little bit. And we've got 2 rapid fire questions for you that we're looking for your expertise, your experience that isn't specifically about mosquito hunters, right? So the first one would be, what would you tell somebody who's going through a process and really considering buying a franchise? Not anything particular, but just any franchise, but they're really serious about it. What's one piece of advice?
I think the 2 things that I would tell somebody, I know you said 1, but I'm going to give you 2. 2 is understand where you want to be from a lifestyle perspective, like where you're at in life and what you want your life to look like. I think is a really important piece. There are franchises that are all encompassing that will take up every ounce of energy and time that you have. There are others, if you're okay with different results or you want to slow build or things like that, that don't take up all your time, energy, and effort, that you can build and be very successful. Just understand where you want to be in your lifestyle and how you want that to build. Second thing that I would tell people, and I think it's a very important point, is really understand how you're capitalized. Really understand how the business is supposed to run. Okay, you're going to read the FDD and everybody's going to tell you it's great and there's questions about it. But I would have a very solid plan for at least 6 months, if not a year, on how you're going to get the business from ground zero to wherever your goal is, and make sure that from a capitalization perspective, that you are able to get the business there. I have met a couple of franchisees that I either talked to, was thinking about franchises with, that are like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to pay the franchise fee, and they don't have a plan to get down the road, and it doesn't end well for them. And I say that as just as a word of caution. The capitalization part, how you're going to run your business, I think is really, really important, because if you guys can show me the franchise that when we open the doors that we're going to be, raking in that cash, sign me up for that one too, right? It's a build. It's a process. You have to work it. You have to grind it, but you got to make sure you can get through that grinding process.
Great advice. So you just went through the very stressful, very up and down first year in business, right? So what's one piece of advice you'd give somebody who's made the leap? They bought a franchise, they're in that first year. We know what an emotional roller coaster that can be. What's something you tell them to get them through?
I mean, I would probably just stick to it and keep grinding. I mean, the franchise, most of the franchises that I know have good systems and process, and they want their franchisees to win, because if their franchisees don't win, they don't either. And so I would do the other thing that I would say, and this is just a personal philosophy that I have: invest in your team. If you have 2 employees or 20 employees, spend some time from just a humanity perspective and invest in your team. If you treat your team great, they're going to treat your customers great. And if they treat your customers great, you're going to have a successful business. You're going to have to make some difficult hiring decisions. You're going to have to grind it out with them a little bit. But if you can invest in your team and your team knows that you care about them deeply, they're going to treat your customers well. And honestly, they're going to help you win. I focus a lot of my time on my team, because I know when they're doing things right, when I'm treating them well, and it's little things. I have a sheet that I give to everybody that we hire that's like, I want to know your favorite Starbucks drink. I want to know your favorite snack food. I want to know your pet's name. Like, little stuff like that goes a long way. And it doesn't matter what business you're in the people business. And as a franchisee, if you can figure that out early on and you treat your people well, they will treat the people we serve well. And that is going to make a perfect franchise for you.
That's great. Thank you, Matt, so much for coming on today. I think it's always great for our audience that are mostly our clients or people thinking about going through this process and trying to figure out, do I want to own a franchise? What does this look like? You've really taken them through, what did your process look like? And it's about asking the right questions, diving in and trying to find what could potentially be your perfect match. And a lot of what you did is focusing on lifestyle, right? You wanted something that
Yep.
gave you more flexibility, got you out of corporate. You didn't have to go back to that and you could stay home with your kids. That's what a lot of our clients are looking for. And so taking them through that, and then also being candid on the challenges, right? It's not easy. And you just came through your first year and you're doing great. And I think that's really good for clients to hear and see once you get over that hump of that first year. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on today. So for those of you listening, if you're thinking about franchising, remember that while there's no one size fits all, the perfect franchise for you is definitely out there. To explore your options, visit theperfectfranchise.com and click on Let's Talk to schedule a call with the consultant on the Perfect Franchise team. We look forward to connecting with you again on the next episode.